In January of 2018, a young 20-something-year-old woman by the name of Maryjane Byram began her world tour. And on January 29th, 2019, she had officially visited 100 countries. There are 195 countries in the world, and this total comprises 193 countries that are member states of the United Nations and 2 countries that are non-member observer states, the Holy See State and the State of Palestine. Maryjane Byram, a Black woman, has successfully seen more than half of the world before the age of 30. She's now 25 years old. Now, most of her travels were done solo, and as she progressed on the journey, her brother, sister, and some friends would join her along the way. Now, before we discuss any alleged controversy and scandal, I want to focus on how very important it is that Maryjane documented her journey for the world to see. I remember coming across her channel in 2018, right when she announced this challenge to see the world, and knowing she would complete it. As a young Black woman who has had the privilege of traveling across the world, I knew just how difficult it can be, whether you're traveling alone or with a group. You're always a Black woman when you're traveling. Yes, I am aware of comments Maryjane has made in the past about racism, bigotry, and traveling, and I would just like to say, as a traveler myself, I can attest to the experience of not being aware of the covert racism taking place during your travels, and I can also speak to having visited some countries and not experiencing what I would consider to be racist acts and or remarks. Maryjane has had her own experiences traveling the world, and I believe it is important to remove your experiences from hers and take it all at face value. Back to the point that I was making earlier. Maryjane picking up her cell phone, her camera, and documenting this journey of traveling to 100 countries in a year is setting a new standard of travel for young Black women and Black people. For young people in general, but I'm Black, so I'm going to center myself in that experience in this conversation. Thanks. Often in the comment section of her videos, Maryjane was on the receiving end of others' doubts. There was something about a young Black woman making such a proclamation that made people uncomfortable. As Maryjane grew closer and closer to her goal, those sort of comments about her being unable to complete the journey grew more and more frequent. In the end, she did it, and she continues to travel the world at her leisure and to her comfort, which I believe is such a powerful thing for us to witness. She's a walking testimony. Okay, so before I move forward, I should give you all some more context. Maryjane began her YouTube career in 2017 when she was uploading videos about her experience being a student in China. Maryjane has shared with her audience that she aspires to be a composer for films, and this can be seen in the editing of her videos. When you watch her videos, pay close attention to the use of music in her editing. Maryjane has an ear for the theatrical and dramatic. The scores that she uses create an emotional response to her videos in a way that I believe have been beneficial to the growth of her channel. When you watch a Maryjane Byram vlog or even just a simple review of a product, you feel like you're being introduced to a film. I appreciate that because at times travel vlogs can become mundane, repetitive, and routine. With her attention to musical scores, Maryjane creates a visual experience that pulls you in and keeps you there. It is important to note that she has had her channel since 2011, but the earliest videos that you can find and will find uploaded to Maryjane's channel are from 2017. In October of 2017, Maryjane's video about getting her hair done in China went viral, and it's currently sitting at 2.7 million views, and it was featured on pretty much every single travel blog and even BET. What was a really fun and exciting thing about these videos was that Maryjane was a student in China and just living her life with her sister, who's also a model in China. Oh, yeah. Her sister's like kind of a big deal in China as a model. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. This video is not going to be including any mess, drama, scandal, or whatever else you want to call it. I'm not interested in that sort of media, and I don't think you should be either. I am not saying that Maryjane is absolved of all and any wrongdoings in her life. What she is a human being who decided to share her life, faith, experiences, and travels with us, with the knowing that this choice would subject her to the scrutiny and judgment of strangers. Now, let's be honest. Maryjane is being held at a different standard than non-Black people doing what it is that she does. And with that being said, let's talk about the new standard of travel vlogging and influencer that she's setting. Something common amongst a lot of travel vloggers is to upload videos about what to be fearful about when visiting the country, or what to be prepared for because there are dangerous things, afoot. And when you take a look at Maryjane's videos, you don't really find many videos like that. There's almost none. The only time Maryjane really makes a video about her dislikes is when she experiences something that she feels her audience should be aware of if they're interested in traveling to the country she's currently in, that she might be making a less than great video about. But she doesn't lead with fear and anxiety, and I appreciate that. A lot of Black travelers embed this spirit of fear and anxiety in their videos, and she doesn't at all. She leads with faith and confidence. Maryjane moves about the world so sure of her belonging there that she is a walking testimony to faith. And let that mean whatever you want it to mean. Maryjane is a Christian. I am not. So what I said about her being a testimony of faith can mean whatever it needs to mean for you. Over the years, Maryjane has successfully grown her channel to new level and new heights in the realm and sphere of the travel vlogger, the travel YouTuber, and the Black travel YouTuber and vlogger. To my knowledge, there really isn't anybody else on YouTube that has traveled to 100 countries in a year. That 1 year, y'all, 1 year, and she has seen more than half of the world, and she's only 25. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about drama and scandal, allegedly, but here's what I do want to say about things that have been getting said about Maryjane recently. I believe that Maryjane is very young. And I believe that she's very determined. And I do believe, from my own experiences with Maryjane, and just through being a supporter and someone who watches her videos, I believe that she had a really big goal in mind and she wanted to fulfill it. And when you introduce strangers into the equation, things can get messy, especially when you start to introduce money, when you start to receive payments that are outside of a donation-based payment, right? Because Maryjane did have a GoFundMe up for some time during her travels to support her. I believe, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me in the comments. It's okay. I'm fine with being incorrect at times. But I do believe that there was a time in 2018 where she would accept like Cash App or PayPal donations and payments to continue on with her journey. Because contrary to popular belief, y'all, Maryjane did not start off her journey just rolling in money, She had some savings, she was a student, and she was working, and she made the decision to travel the world, and that cost a lot of money. And people were willing to support her, people including myself. And what I think has happened is that she had the very best intentions, but things just did not work out the way that she had hoped. And it is unfortunate. It is super unfortunate because I do think that with the travel opportunities that she was offering to her subscribers, to her supporters, I think what she was offering was really cool. It was really unique. And I just think that if there had been more planning involved and if there had been a more streamlined system, there would not have been as much frustration and outcry given what's happening now. Because, it is not true to say that nobody ever, met her during the meet and greets. And it's not true to say that nobody has ever traveled with her or gone on any of the trips that she had offered. But I do believe that it is fair to critique the way in which she went about offering these travel deals and offering these trips to her supporters and offering these meet and greets. I absolutely do not agree with the statement that she is a scammer or a scam artist because I do not believe that that was her intent. I also don't believe that she wants anyone to think that of her. In my experience, she takes her brand extremely seriously. She's always taken her brand extremely seriously. Listen, this young Black woman went out on a whim. Okay, went out on a whim. And I do think that we should congratulate her for that. I do think that we should thank her for sharing her journey and experiences with us, because she didn't have to at all. She didn't have to at all. Nobody has to do anything. And I think the fact that Maryjane said, I'm going to share this experience because I know that the experience I'm having is not one that is common, but it absolutely can become common. But in order for it to become a common experience, people must see it, right? We always say we want to see it to believe it. Okay, so she showed us. And now we believe it because we saw it happen. We know she went to those 100 countries. She brought us to each one, So in her YouTube career, Maryjane doesn't have a history of lying. What she does have a history of is being private. And I think that people are confusing her privacy for her lying. Those are not the same thing. And I do not believe that's what she has been doing since her YouTube channel has, gained popularity. And since she has gained popularity, for instance, with her eyes. Okay, she was wearing contacts. Now, here's the thing. It's not any of our business if she was or wasn't wearing contacts. But after being harassed all the time about her eye color, she finally said, yes, I'm wearing contacts. But if you had gone back and watched her previous videos, she had actually said a number of times that she was wearing contacts. I'm pretty sure in one of her videos, she even the contact company was a sponsor for one of the videos. So it wasn't exactly like her green eyes contacts were a secret. It just wasn't like she was starting every video off saying, I'm wearing contacts. That's just one example. And then there have been more very personal things that I feel Maryjane has only had to come to the internet to share because people don't understand privacy and respecting someone's privacy. Yes, yes, yes. She's on the internet. Okay, we get it. Yes, we know when you go on the internet, you're opening yourself up to the judgment and scrutiny of strangers, and some strangers take things a little too far. So I made this video just to commend Maryjane for continuing to stand up for herself, for continuing on her journey, and for never backing down. Now, like I said, I do agree to critique. I absolutely believe it is 100% fair to critique her. Yes, I have watched the videos, the multiple myriad of videos on YouTube that would like to call her out for being a scammer. Some of the videos, I think it's very clear to see that they are spinning a narrative. For other videos, yes, it is very clear to see that there was negligence on Maryjane's end. But all that I will say is that we take heed and just take a little bit more caution, when it comes to the narratives that get out and get put out about the people that we support or people that we think. I don't think Maryjane ever set out to bamboozle people, to lie to people, to steal from people. I just don't believe that. I just don't believe it. In her public persona history, that is not something that has been a trait we often have seen displayed by her. So it would seem a little out of character for her to be this scammer figure that everyone wants to say she is. I just think there was a lack of planning involved. And I do think, yes, on the level, there is a lack of accountability being taken as well on her end. But that's human. And that's human nature. That's not to excuse it, but it's just to say, there hasn't been enough evidence presented for me to show that from the beginning, like from the announcement of the travel opportunities to today, that it's all just been one big scam to collect, people's money and travel with it and buy things with it, because I just don't see the evidence. And we also have evidence of people who have gone on the trips with her, who have met her with the meet and greet. All I'm saying is I believe there was just a really huge lack of planning involved. I think that she was taking on, I just think she was taking on a very big project. And I think at first it was manageable. But then once it got a little more popular and people started seeing oh, someone I know actually met her or went on the trip with her. Like once that kind of started happening, and also once other people started uploading YouTube videos saying like, me and Maryjane Byram went on a trip, Maryjane Byram. Like once it got popular, I think it just was out. I think it got out of her reach, and it became a lot to handle, and it became very overwhelming for her. Once again, I'm not excusing her. If she owes anything to anybody because there was a previous conversation had, then yes, they have to work that out. Of course. I wish her all the best. I do hope everything does work itself out, but I just want us to extend grace. I know it's really easy to hop on the bandwagon and to join the group think. I know it's really easy to be like, yeah, she's a scammer, forget her, Like, I know it's so easy to do that. I know that it even feels good, right, to do that, because that's why people join in bully culture and stuff like that. Like I said, critiquing her behaviors and bullying her are two different things. And I've seen very few people critiquing her, but I've seen a whole lot of people bullying her. And I think that's something that we need to watch out for. Okay? I think that's something that we need to be aware of. I think you need to ask yourself when you are leaving a comment, when you are responding to anything. And this is not even just to Maryjane Byram. This is just in general in life. If you're sending an email, if you're responding to a text, if you're speaking in person, picking up the phone, whatever it may be, ask yourself, am I about to offer critique to the information that I have received, or am I about to bully? Which one am I about to do and why? And once you answer that question, you'll have a better understanding of why you even responded the way that you did off rip in your head before you even said anything out loud. So I wanted to make a video to provide some context, to give a little history about Maryjane Byram, and to share what I believe is the truth. I believe the truth is Maryjane Byram took on a bit more than she should have, and things got a little bit out of control. And now she's doing damage control to the best of her ability. And yes, I will applaud her for that. And I really do hope that things work out for everybody involved in these situations. I really don't think it's good for anybody if someone, quote unquote, loses, right, in these situations. I don't think so. I think it's high time that we all learn how to offer criticism, how to critique, and how to bully less. Because right now, especially with everything going on, people don't need to be bullied, okay? People don't need to be bullied. They don't. People need to be held accountable. People need to be held to a standard across the board. Everyone needs to be held to a standard. And then people need to be given constructive criticism. And then people need to be helped too, y'all. Like I said, again, I'm not trying to come here and pacify or make excuses for her at all. Things have been done that are wrong, and they need to be corrected. But bullying her won't fix anything. And bullying the people who want to speak out also is not going to fix anything. She's a 25-year-old. She's 25. She's a kid. We're kids. We're all kids. What do we know? Everyone likes to say that's adulthood. I don't believe it. I don't believe you're an adult till you're 30, honestly. You ask me. I don't. I think your 20s are just literally your adolescence. That's why they call it young adulthood, because you're still very young. Sometimes you take on too much and you're in it too deep and you can't really back out of it. So all you can do is try to fix it best you know how. And sometimes the solution you offer to one person, it'll work, but you can offer that same solution to another and it won't work. And so you have to do what you can to fix it. So I do hope that she's able to resolve everything I do hope that everyone is able to come to an agreement. And I do hope that she, even during this time, is sure of herself and sure of her choices. You know? And that's all. And that's really all. That's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. Please do not send... I can't believe we have to even say these kind of things, but please do not send any hate towards Maryjane Byram or any hate towards people who are calling her out, so to speak. Everyone's had their own experiences with Maryjane. I am not going to sit here and say that someone else's experience is false or wrong, because that wasn't my experience, right? It's their experience. So if that's how they experienced her, that is how they experienced her. It's upsetting, but that's how they experienced her. We don't all experience people the same. But please extend grace. Please make sure you're not being a bully. And please make sure that you're actually offering criticism and critique out of love. Criticism and critique out of concern, right? Not out of trying to bully. Not being hostile. Not because you want to be mean. Not because you want to make yourself feel good. I hate this whole narrative of like, you know, once you get to the top, it's harder to fall. And like once you get to the top, you know, it's easier to fall. Like the bigger you get, the harder you fall. I don't like that, because all that tells me is that it just means that there's people waiting in the wings hoping you mess up. And y'all putting that energy out there. That's not good energy for yourself. Forget her. Forget Maryjane Byram. You putting out that energy towards another person is only going to come right back to you. So check your energy. Watch your energy. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. It'll be okay. I believe that everybody will get what they need out of this situation. I think everybody will find a resolution, and I think things will get handled. It's just a very unfortunate thing to see play out in the way that it is. And I do hope that everything resolves itself very, very soon.